Greetings, Iain from Artiho here. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album Review. And today we're going a little bit 80s, very 80s in fact. It was just some research I was doing for doing the Classic Album show, and I come across this. And it's an album that I'd never really heard, so I thought, okay, we'll give it a listen to see what it was all about. And I was surprised, but what I was surprised about it is, for an 80s album, the production is great. I think that has a lot to do with the producer. It's the one and only Mr. Trevor Horn from the Buggles and Yes. He is a phenomenal producer. He's quite a perfectionist. He likes crisp sounds, and there's that something about his production. They're very crisp. So, welcome to the Pleasuredome by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. First released in October of 1984 on ZTT Records. Originally issued as a double album. Now, putting out a double album as your first album is a pretty risky job, isn't it? But I don't know how they done it, but it was assured of a UK chart entry at #1 due to the advanced sales of over 1 million. Now this is 1984. We've got no internet, we've got no downloading, streaming or anything. This is going to the shop and buying the record. It actually sold around 250,000 copies in its first week. It was a top 10 seller all over the world. So who are Frankie Goes to Hollywood? So obviously everyone knows Holly Johnson as the lead vocalist. We've got Paul Rutherford backing vocals. Brian Nash was guitar. Mark O'Toole was bass guitar. Peter Gill was on drums. Now also on here we've got JJ Gillespie on keyboards and programming. Art of Noise. Andrew Richards keyboards. Louis Jardin on percussion. The brilliant Anne Dudley on keyboards and strings. Superb production. She's an all-round genius. Stephen Lipston on guitar. Steve Howell's on this, and yes, plays acoustic guitar on Welcome to the Pleasuredome. Got Trevor Horn doing backing vocals and bass guitar, and he produced the album. Some great players on this. You know, half of helps when you got half of Art of Noise on here, doesn't it? Pretty good. And a great guitarist on one track. Brilliant stuff. So let's have a look at these tracks. So the first track is called The World Is My Oyster, which includes Well, Snatch of the Fury. It's quite operatic. It's only 2 minutes long, but it's brilliant. Then it goes into a long track. Track 2 of your first album is 13 minutes 40, and it is Welcome to the Pleasuredome. This is a clever piece of music. The acoustic guitar in it by Steve Howell is just something pretty good. It's got the best sound of an 80s record. The production is brilliant. It's a little bit proggy. It sort of sort of, yes, but a more modern 80s dance, pop, whatever you want to call it, track. Absolutely great. Then the third track is the one we all know, Relax. Mike Reid said, no, this is rude, we're going to ban it on Radio 1. All it did was did the band a great favour. Ban a record, it's going to go to number 1 because everyone wants to know why it's been banned. It's one of the classic tracks from the 80s. It's not a bad song, is it, really? It was at number 1 forever. That's Summer. Then we get War. Now, this is a very interesting interpretation of War. What is it? It sort of incorporates that all through the song. Great production. It just sounds. It does sound very Art of Noise in places, and I've got no problem with that because I love the Art of Noise. Then we get Two Tribes. Now, I actually referred this to Relax. It's not a bad track, actually. Then we get a little bit of fun. It's called Tag. It's it's someone doing the impression of the Prince of Wales, and they're talking about orgasms. Yeah, it's quite funny. Quite funny. It's nothing sordid. It's just funny. And hearing someone doing the impression of Prince Charles talking about that is quite interesting. Then we get a thing called Ferry Go. This is an interpretation of Gerry Marsden's Ferry Across the Mersey. It's quite a pleasant little version. Holly Johnson sounds really good on it. It's not bad. Then we get a cover of Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. And they did do a good version of it. They did it justice. It sounds good. It's not far off the original. And I like it. I really like that song. I was quite shocked. And the one I was more shocked with is the old Baccarat and David track, San Jose, The Way. Pretty decent version of it. Bit of a croony voice from Holly Johnson. It sounds okay. Wish the Lads Were Here. I don't like this. This is awful. This is just... No, I didn't like this track at all. Then we get the Ballad of 32. Nice arrangement. It's got some great guitar work on it. There's nothing wrong with it. Crisco Kisses. Yeah, it's a bit weak. I don't understand that track. It's a bit too much for me. Black Night, White Light. This is one of them deep tracks off this album that no one probably hears. The production on it is fantastic. You got to take this album for it. The production on in this track, superb. The Only Star in Heaven, just not my cup of tea. Then we get to the best song that this band ever did, The Power of Love. Awesome. Came out at Christmas, didn't it? I don't know if it was a number 1 or not, but I didn't consider this Christmassy enough to put in my Christmas show. But I love this track. Anne Dudley's strings are on the string arrangement on this is beautiful. She is such a classy act. And then we end up with a little ditty, one of their silly little ditties called Bang, and that's the end of the album. Now, I said this made a lot, sold all over the place. Now I've got the certifications for this album. Austria went gold, 25,000. Canada platinum, 100,000. Germany platinum, 500,000. Netherlands gold, 50,000. New Zealand, well, this is only a little country, remember, New Zealand. It went platinum at 15,000. Norway gold, 25,000. UK 3 times platinum, 900,000 copies. USA went gold at 500,000. It was, I don't know, it was just a phenomenal, wasn't it? We had the Frankie Says t-shirts. Frankie says this, Frankie says that. My friend got one that said, I don't care if you, yeah, Frankie says. And then, same year that when quoted their End of the Road, Francis says, how are you? Then, and on the back, all right. So everyone jumped on that Frankie Says thing. Great marketing. Sold hundreds of t-shirts. I'd say this is probably one of the best produced albums of the 90s, 80s, sorry. Okay, it's not particularly one of my favourite albums going, but I appreciate and respect Trevor Horn. He was the mastermind behind this. He took a bunch of unknowns and turned them into a phenomenal. When you listen to some of the tracks, I mean, I love their covers. They're done with respect and, you know, nothing too strange. Produced one of the best songs of the 80s. Got them controversial when Mike Reid banned them. On the whole, it's not a bad listen. I'll give it an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, that's all for today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow, though. What have we got for you tomorrow? We have got, I think it's part 5 of the Jeff Lynne story, and we're going to look at his solo albums. He's, you know, apart from producing loads of people and doing ELO and what have you, and the Travelling Wilburys, he did find time to record some solo stuff. So we'll be having a look at that, and we have got an honourable mention in that. And then tomorrow's retro ranking is probably one of the most phenomenal artists of the 70s. T-Rex, of course, featuring the magnificent Mark Bolan. One of my sort of heroes from the 70s. You know, when you're of a certain age, you grew up on that music. Remember him passing away. So sad. So we're going to celebrate the music of Mark Bolan and T-Rex tomorrow. Hope you'll join me for that. Until then, bye for now.